Whether Pérez is a hero or a villain depends on who you ask, from calling Ronaldinho ugly to saving Real Madrid from a £300 million debt. These are everything everyone is getting wrong about Florentino Pérez. Born on March 8, 1947 in Hortaleza, Madrid, Pérez lived just 5 kilometers away from Real Madrid Stadium. He graduated from the Polytechnic University of Madrid as a civil engineer. From a humble administrator in Madrid City Council, he soon started working at the Ministry of Public Works and Transport. But he wasn't exactly happy with what he was doing, so he decided to have a go at building something else. Not roads or bridges, but a reputation and a career in politics. He won the General Secretary elections for the Democratic Reformist Party, but unfortunately the party folded because they could not land a representative in Parliament. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. That's like scoring a goal and having it ruled up for offside. Once again, Pérez would decide to dabble into new territory, this time business. This dude switches careers like Sergio Reguilon switches teams, but hey, a man has got to do what a man has got to do, yeah? So where did Pérez go after here? Well, he became a businessman. With a few friends, he purchased the dying and bankrupt construction company Padros and turned it around. Finally, some success at something he was happy doing. You can consider Pérez a lucky man because the rise of Padros coincided with the boom in the construction centre as Madrid was urbanising quickly in the 90s. By 1993, it merged with 2 construction companies to eventually become the ACS Group later on. This meant more contracts for the company and deeper pockets for Pérez. How deep? Well, I don't have an exact figure, but he was rich enough to dare to do the impossible: take over the club he adored since he was a child. Real Madrid isn't like other clubs with a sole owner or shares in the stock market. They are a fan-owned team. And no, I'm not saying that Madrid is owned by its millions of supporters. Real is owned by a select few known as socios, an elite group of Madrid superfans who have voting rights in the club with a fee they pay annually. But they just own the club, they don't run it. They elect a president to do that. It's a tradition they've been practicing for over a century, and now Florentino wanted a slice of that Madrid pie. So in 1995, Florentino Pérez ran against sitting president Ramon Mendoza. Mendoza had a successful stint as Real president with Los Blancos winning 5 consecutive La Ligas in a row with 10 other trophies. This was enough to blind the socios to the fact that Mendoza had the club in tens of millions of euros worth of debts. Pérez lost the election, but was he the real loser here? Not exactly. Mendoza had to resign later that year because of the crippling debts Real Madrid was in. I'm sure Pérez was somewhere gloating, but he wasn't just gloating, he was plotting a second go at that top exec spot. Half a decade of his defeat, he ran for president against Lorenzo Sanz, who was the incumbent president that took over after Mendoza's resignation. As much as Madrid won the Champions League twice under Sanz after a 30-year drought, the socios learned that lesson last time they put silverware over silver coins, something Pérez would exploit. It's the year 2000 and Pérez had renewed aspirations for the new millennium. Maybe one of his New Year resolutions was to be better at politics because his campaign for president of Real Madrid was near flawless. Alongside better financing, he also promised Real Madrid the best player in the world, Luis Figo, who played for the rivals Barcelona. He was so convinced that he would pull this off that he promised the socios the membership fee if he couldn't. If he won, the socios would see their rival's biggest star become one of theirs. If he lost, the socios, they would have their tickets for the game paid for by him. Since they were already in a financial crisis anyway, it was a win-win. Pérez went on to win the election by 55% of the vote. His pre-contract with Figo and his agent had trapped the Portuguese star into a transfer dilemma that would end up with him in nowhere else but Spain's capital. Pérez had won. He had outsmarted everyone. He was always 5 steps ahead. This may have been what he wanted, but this was just the beginning. If a club needed to be bought out of debt and into prosperity, I would trust someone who has done it before with his first business, Padros. He sold land owned by the club and pledged millions of euros in loans, and this was enough to overturn the £300 million debt he met. If those debts continued, Madrid would have turned into a public limited company, rendering the socios extinct. But Pérez stopped this, and bought Madrid out of debt. Los Blancos was finally enough financial buoyancy to shoot for the stars. I mean that literally, because Pérez could now enact the next phase of his plans for Madrid, Project Galacticos. In 2001, the Santiago Bernabéu had renovations done and Real Madrid spent over 120 million in transfers, with Luis Figo making up half of that amount. Pérez treated Madrid like a business, and he wanted attention because that's what he knew would bring the club money. And that's what the Galacticos incentive was, creating a star-studded team by signing the best players in the world. So every year he had that one signing that broke the transfer market. Starting with Figo in 2000, Zidane in 2001, Ronaldo in 2002 and Beckham in 2003, and so many other years. Madrid looked like a galaxy, a literally cluster of stars. This was the Galacticos he envisioned. With 2 La Liga titles and a Champions League in the first 3 years of president, I'm sure Pérez was pleased with the success he was seeing. But this success would blind him, as he would forget that he was a president of a football club and not just a multi-million-dollar empire. Real Madrid was going on global tours and had 50% of their players. Imagine, right? I could swear this man was turning this 100-year-old club into a modelling agency. In 2003, Pérez had the chance to sign Ronaldinho, but opted not to because he thought that the Brazilian was too ugly and would hurt the Madrid's brand. This attitude of putting player marketability over merit would cost Pérez for the next few years. Arch rivals Barca signed Ronaldinho the following year, and let's just say Dino made Pérez regret it. Not only did he destroy the Galacticos in a match at the Bernabéu, but he also led the Catalans to 2 league titles in 3 years. But if Madrid couldn't stay champions of Spain, at least they could conquer Europe, right? The Galacticos weren't shining at that front either. They finished worst ever season after their 2002 triumph. Defeated and his master plan failure, Pérez resigned in February 2006, although Madrid had won 2 La Ligas after his departure. Madrid's leadership was unstable for the next 3 years. The mantle of presidency fell back on the only man who could restore order to this great club. Florentino Pérez was unopposed in 2009 election. To be fair, I wouldn't want to run against one of Madrid's most influential presidents either. Once bitten, twice shy, Pérez was doubling down on his Galacticos dream and building an ever brighter and promising team of stars. Madrid signed Kaká, Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema and Xavi Alonso all in one season. He didn't stop there. He hired the services of the special one to take charge of the Galacticos 2.0. Slowly, Pérez began to loosen Barca's dominance in Spanish football in Spain. I'm starting to think that the O in Florentino stands for overkill and overpriced, because this man does not know when to stop. He added Luka Modric to the squad in 2012 and then Gareth Bale for a then record fee of 101 million a year later. Did I mention that after the 2014 World Cup he got Colombian star boy James Rodriguez, the World Cup winner Toni Kroos? Apparently Pérez was more careful with the Galacticos building scheme because the results he got were unprecedented. 4 La Liga titles and 5 Champions League trophies, which included historic Lazima and 3-peat plus over silverware of achievements that every team in Europe envies. The Galacticos were back, baby, and Pérez was ready to ease up. Like I said before, this man just wants more and more and more, so much that he's made himself a god in the football world. He has put measures into place to make it harder to challenge him for his seat, signing a player that has always been a matter of pen touching his checkbook. If he wanted a player, no one else was getting that player. He had built connections with business, politicians and the media throughout his career, and there was no sphere of football free from his influence. He became so powerful that the Spanish media seemed like nothing but puppets of his. He could do and undo. Since 2009 Ballon d'Ors have gone to Madrid players. Do I have to do the maths for you? His say in the football world is no secret. Even Zlatan has voiced out his feelings about this on Modric's victory in 2018. As he stated, now we know it was Pérez who was competing with Messi. Ibra may have been joking, but what wasn't funny was how Pérez treated people even on the same side as him. When Ronaldo left Real in 2018, it wasn't all love at the club The highest goal scorer said it in an interview with French Football. I felt it inside the club, especially from the president. They no longer considered me the same way that they did in the start. That's what made me think about leaving. If Pérez has proven anything, that he's stubborn about his goals and the hate doesn't bother him. Following a rough year for football financially because of COVID, Florentino Pérez was pushing for the creation of the Super League to save football. Even FIFA and UEFA couldn't stop him. It wasn't until the collective voice of fans around the world pressured their teams from withdrawing that Pérez realised that maybe he's not all so powerful after all. But something tells me we haven't seen the last of Pérez's crazy antics. To become Madrid's hero, he had to become everyone else's villain. But would Real have been the team they are today if Pérez didn't do the things that he did? Did the ends justify the means? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.